Good morning. Happy Monday. I guess it's not really morning, it's almost lunchtime, or I guess it depends where you are watching from. If you are here, please say hello, say good morning so that I know you are here. I'm gonna wait just a minute or two for everybody to jump on before I start talking about radio and how you can get interviews on radio, how you could even get a radio show if that's something that you're interested in. I'm super excited to talk about this. I actually started my Monday morning going on the radio in Nashville, Tennessee, talking a little sports, talking Big 12 conference expansion if you're a college football fan. So that was a fun way to start off my Monday. I love going on the radio. Radio hosts have so much personality and so much excitement and so much energy. When I get on the radio, I'm like instantly in a better mood and like instantly energized, and it's an awesome way to start off my morning. So that was fun. I had a great weekend. It was one of the more relaxing weekends I've had in quite some time. I worked like just a little bit, like just a little bit. I wrote 2 things for Forbes that I had on tap, but other than that, I had a nice relaxing weekend. I went to 2 of my very favorite restaurants, The Melting Pot, which is like my favorite restaurant in all the world. I love Melting Pot. And I had Japanese last night. I love Japanese. And now I'm going to have to work out every single day this week because I am full of cheese and bread from fondue, and I ate my weight in fried rice last night. So, but it was a great weekend, some relaxing time by the pool. We had lots of sunshine here in Florida. It was awesome. If you guys are here, say hello. Let me know you're here. I know there's a little bit of a delay between when you say hi and I actually see that you are on here. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I want to talk about radio today. Radio has been an important part of my marketing and an important part of my visibility strategy for a really long time now. I think I went on my first, actually I don't even have to think. I know when I went on for my first radio show because it was like the most scared I'd ever been in my entire life. I had done a couple of podcasts and whatever, but then I was doing a radio show, and I remember I was actually out of town. I was staying at a friend's house, and I had to get up that morning to do this radio interview. And I remember like preparing for this interview for like an hour or two to go on the air for like 2 minutes. And I remember being so nervous, and that would have been the fall of 2007. So I've been going on the radio for almost 10 years. So I guess it'll be 9 years this fall. It seems like a long time, but that's really like even longer than I was thinking. So love radio. My husband is in radio. So in addition to my own experiences, hi Maria, I'm so glad you're here. It is good to see you. And you guys, I am going to tell you all about Maria's program in the group too later today. She is on her last day, I think, of her early bird bonuses for her awesome program. So you guys, I know I've seen that in my email newsletter and seen me talking about it in a couple of places. But I am going to hit you with it again later today. Okay, so radio. Been doing it for something like 9 years now. I love it. And it is a lot easier to get yourself on the radio than you think it is. When I talk to people who have never been on the radio before, they think it is this like unobtainable, like untouchable goal. Like how could you possibly get on the radio? It's so easy, guys. Is if you were willing to put yourself out there and send the email and you really have a good idea of what you're pitching. It's so easy to get on the radio because here's the deal. Radio hosts are lazy, okay? Most radio hosts, they like to sleep, they eat a lot because people bring food to the radio station. They hate doing show prep. They want easy. So if you pitch them a segment or an interview that makes sense for their show, and you tell them exactly what you can come on and talk about, and especially if you can tie it into like current events, it's so easy for them. They don't have to do show prep. They don't have to come up with a topic. They don't have to get on and know a bunch of stuff. They just have to get on and ask you questions. So radio hosts love to have guests the same way they love to take callers. So it's really not that hard to get on there. I want to talk to you about 2 different things with radio. Okay, so first, how you can get on radio as a guest, and then I'm going to talk to you about if you want your own radio show. That's actually not that hard either. That I learned from my husband who works in radio. And when I found out how radio really works on the backside and how people get shows, I was amazed. It has totally changed my outlook on the radio industry. Okay, so let's start with how you get on the radio as a guest. So what I did is I wrote up a little like 1-paragraph bio about myself, and I wrote up a list of topics I could talk about. So at the time, when I first started pitching myself for radio, I was pitching myself as an expert on the business side of Major League Baseball. That was sort of my like first area of expertise. And I literally went back and I found one of the emails this morning because, as my husband will tell you, I'm an email hoarder. I like never delete emails. I think it's the lawyer in me. Like, you always want to have proof that you like sent something to someone or that they said something. I don't know. So I keep all my emails. So be careful. If you email me, I'm keeping it. And I actually find the email that I sent to my husband before I ever met him. This was actually about 6 months before we ended up meeting each other. I found the email I sent to my husband, who at the time was the producer of a midday show in Atlanta, Georgia. And I found the exact email I sent him. Now I'm going to post it in the group so you guys can see it. I will tell you, I would write the email differently now, but I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know anyone else who went on the radio. I didn't know what that kind of email was supposed to look like. So I was totally winging it. And I basically wrote a paragraph with a biography on myself, like credentialing myself for the topic I wanted to talk about. And then I gave like, I think some bullet points or some discussion around like the topics I could come on for. That has evolved for me. And you know, I still basically do the same thing. I think I just write it a little better now than I did then, but I'm still going to share with you and show you the very first thing I sent around, which got me radio interviews all over the country. Okay. When I sent that email around, I started landing tons of radio interviews all over the country because, like I told you, radio hosts are lazy. They want easy. And if you will serve to them on a platter a topic that works for their audience, they will have you on. And look, I'm a woman. Do you know how many women go on sports talk radio? Okay, I could probably count them on one hand. Like, they do not have female guests on sports talk radio. But because I knew how to, you know, put myself out there, well, really, it wasn't even knowing how. I didn't know how to put myself out there. Because I was willing to put myself out there, people started having me on. I'm telling you. Radio hosts want easy, okay? So what you need to do is get a feel for what types of radio shows would work for you. So this is totally going to depend on your topic, and I know my audience really has a wide variety of things that they coach about and services they provide and products and that sort of thing. So you've got to find the right outlet for you. For me, I was trying to become an expert on sports. So for me, it was sports talk radio stations, but I would start local with shows that you actually listen to. And if it's a show, if you hear guests on the show, that means they're willing to have guests, and you can pitch yourself for an interview on that show. And it really is as simple as sending an email. I would send the email to the host, or if there's more than one host, to each of the hosts, and also to the producer. Here's what I've found. A lot of radio hosts don't really check their radio station email all that often. It's not like some of you who go into an office and email is like a huge part of your job, and you know, you're checking email every day, multiple times a day. Radio hosts aren't like that. They don't really have a reason to be in their email a lot of times. So I would always send it to a producer as well. Usually on the radio station's website, you can find information for the producer or even for a programming director who's over the entire station. So I would shoot the email to those people. Most of the time when I get booked, it is by a producer. It's not by the host. But just cover your bases, and you can send your pitch to all of those people, anyone you can find an email address for. And just give them a little bio about yourself and let them know the topics you can speak on. Now, there's two different ways you can do this, okay? I would send like an introduction email telling them who you are with like the little bio and like a bullet point list of the topics you could come on and talk about. So like for me now, when I do sports talk radio, I can talk about you know, college athletics finance, conference realignment. I can talk about collective bargaining in professional sports. I can talk about the finances behind the draft. You know, I give like a bulleted list of all the topics I could talk about. That's like an introductory email. Like now you're getting on their radar. They might book you right away, or they might do what my husband did when I emailed him that very first time I was talking about. He emailed me back and said, "Thanks, I'll keep this on file." And then he proceeded to never have me on their radio show. But that's a story for another time. So you might just get put in the file, and maybe they'll reach out to you, maybe they won't. I have booked plenty of radio interviews based off of that introductory email, but I would send that to get on their radar. And then a couple of weeks after that, I would start looking for topics that are sort of in the news cycle or trending on social media that I can relate to my topic. And then I would email them again and say, hey, did you see today where whatever happened in the news or whatever was trending on Twitter or wherever, this is a topic I can talk about because of my background with XYZ. So when you can pitch yourself as sort of an expert, even if you don't feel like an expert, when you can pitch yourself as an expert on a topic that's in the news cycle or that's trending, that's something that they will book you for right away, okay? That's something where you're not going to get put in the file, okay? But you've got to be fast. I mean, the minute you see it and you think, ooh, that's a good topic for me, you got to be sending the email right then. It can't be tomorrow. It can't be 2 days from now, because then something else in the news cycle or something else is going to be trending and they're not going to use it. I mean, you've got to be on top of it, okay? You've got to be watching for it. Now, some people hire a publicist or an agent who watch these kind of things for them. I do that for a couple of my clients who come to me as a publicist. But when I was doing it on my own in the beginning, I mean, it was just hustle. It was just watching the news and the trending topics and pitching myself the minute I saw something that sounded like a good fit. Okay, so you got to be right on top of things like that. And I'm gonna cheat on my little sheet here to make sure I don't miss anything. You could also, if you wanted to really put a professional foot forward, you could do what I would call a one sheet. So a one sheet would be just a one page color PDF. You could create it in Canva or something like that. And it would have your little bio, and it would have the bullet points of the topics that you can talk about, have a picture of yourself, even though it's radio and they can't see you. If people feel like you're a real person, that can make a difference. So I did eventually add that into my radio pitching. Hi, Valerie. I'm so excited. So many of you guys are in on this for radio. I'm telling you, radio is so much easier to get than you think it is. I'm so excited for some of you to try this. Okay, so now I do send the one sheet. I still, in the email, give a little brief synopsis of me, and I say, please see attached for, a full background on me and all the topics I could do. I just think the one sheet looks nice, but that's not something you have to have right away. I'm telling you, I'm going to post the email in the group that I sent to my husband when he was a stranger I didn't know and was a producer at a radio station. I am going to send you the exact email I sent him. I'm a little horrified now because I think I could write it so much better now, but the bottom line is it worked. I sent that to a lot of radio stations and I got a lot of radio interviews out of it, okay? Now, beyond email, a really good way to get on the radar of these hosts, especially because I told you the hosts don't always check their email, figure out what social media platforms they're on. So in sports, they're all on Twitter, okay? So I developed relationships with a lot of radio people, hosts and producers, just over Twitter. So introducing myself to them over Twitter, shooting them a tweet when I saw something in the news I could comment on, or if I had written a blog on something in the past and it was relevant to something that was trending or in the news, I'd shoot them the blog. And I get tons and tons and tons of radio interviews via Twitter. So, listen to the shows you're interested in going on and listen to what the hosts say. Are they telling you to go like their Facebook page? Are they giving you their Twitter handle? Are they talking about Snapchat? Figure out what platform they're on. Follow them on that platform and engage with them there. That sometimes can be an easier, faster way of getting on their radar and getting in touch with them than email can. I'd try both though. I mean, I would be trying every angle to get at these people, especially if it's a show and a program you want to be on, okay? Start with local radio, start getting on, local channels, and then you can branch out into more national channels or, channels around the country, and then you can go into national. I did radio on local channels all over the country for probably almost 2 years before I started landing national radio shows on Sirius XM and on big syndicated shows around the country. So it takes a little time. They want to know you have the experience. You're going to be nervous when you start. You've got to get really good at redirecting. So if they ask you a question you don't know, you've got to get really good at turning the corner and getting it back to something you do know, and then you'll have really great clips you can send around to national radio stations to start landing national gigs. I'm telling you guys, radio is so much easier to land than you think it is. I cannot emphasize that enough. Television, tough, okay? Television, really, really tough. Not impossible, but tough. Radio is not that hard, I'm telling you. Radio hosts are lazy. If you can deliver them a segment that's interesting and you've served up for them on a platter this subject and the answers that they're audience is looking for, they will use you. I promise. Radio's so easy. Okay, so that's how you can become a guest on radio shows. If you want to host your own radio show, you would be shocked at how easy that is. You would be shocked to learn how many people you hear on the radio every day locally, no matter where you live in the country, who are not paid employees of the radio station. Okay, so this is what I learned being married to a radio producer, now programming director, is that the vast majority of people on local radio stations, with the exception of like really big markets, when we're talking about like your big time hosts in New York and LA and Atlanta and Miami and Chicago and those kind of cities, those are salaried employees. But there's a lot of people on those stations, especially when you're talking about nighttime. This is Lizzie, my little office manager cat here in the background. So you would be shocked how many people, even on those big stations at night and on the weekends, and then in other markets every single day, are what they call brokered, which means those people are paying for the airtime, okay? They are not a salaried employee of the radio station. They're not even an hourly employee of the radio station. They are paying for that time, and it's really not that expensive, you guys, okay? A lot of the people I know who broker their time in pretty big cities, we're not talking like Atlanta, Miami, Chicago, those kind of cities, but here in Jacksonville, where I live, in decent sized cities who are, I guess, outside of like the top 50 markets, pay $100 an hour to be on the radio. So if you're in the kind of business that could benefit from having a show on local radio, particularly if you have like a brick and mortar business locally, even if you have an online business, we can talk. I can tell you kind of the cost benefit analysis of whether it makes sense for you to host your own show or not. But if you're interested in hosting your own show, it's really not that difficult. $100 an hour, I think, is sort of the going rate in a lot of places. And you can be on 1 hour a week. Maybe you're on Tuesday nights at 7. Lizzie has to be on air every time I go on Facebook Live. She's a fame whore, okay? I have 3 cats, and she's the only one who insists on coming and being on Facebook Live. So I have to lock her out when I do television from home and I have to Skype in. I have to lock her in a bedroom because she so badly wants to be on the air with me. She is a fame whore. But if you want your own show and you are willing to pay $100 an hour, you can be on, one night a week. Maybe you can be on 2 hours on Saturday. Nights and weekends are the easiest time to get on. But even some of the shows during the day are brokered shows. I have a couple of clients who have done and are doing brokered shows that have seen success with those, in addition to helping sort of a local bricks and mortar kind of business if you have that. It also is just a great way to establish yourself as an expert. It gives you tons of clips you can send around to try to get bigger media. And if you do host a show like that, the best thing you can do is get the rights from the radio station to be able to podcast it and be able to put up a podcast on iTunes that people can subscribe to, so that even if they're not in your local market, and this is why I say you don't necessarily have to have a local bricks and mortar business for this to work, because you can take your radio show. Now the dog, I'm sorry, is over here crying. Everybody wants to be on Facebook Live today, but the dog won't actually come over here. She's just gonna stand in the corner and whimper. Okay, so if you want to take that show and turn it into a podcast and put it on iTunes and Stitcher and all those kind of podcasting platforms, that is an awesome way to get extra mileage out of that radio show. And a lot of times, even if you're paying for the time in these brokered situations, they will give you a certain number of commercials during your show that you could sell to sponsors so that you could try to make your money back. So a lot of people who pay for their show are able to make their money back. The arrangements are going to differ by radio station. If that's something you're really interested in, get in touch with me. My husband can definitely give you even better advice than I can about that, because he is a programming director and he does deal with people who actually broker their shows. TJ, you're saying you can't see the post. I will get with you afterwards. This is a Facebook Live video, so hopefully you clicked on the video and can see it, but I will respond to you as soon as I get off. So those are kind of your 2 different options for radio. You can pitch yourself as a guest, or you could even broker and host your own show. So if you're interested in radio, you want to ask questions, you've got a couple of minutes here. You can ask questions live. If you want to ask questions in the comment thread, thread, you can do that too, or shoot me a private message if it's something you don't want everybody to see. Shoot me an email, Christy@guidemybrand.com, and I would be happy to help you. I'm telling you, radio is so much easier than you think, and it's a really cool thing to add to your sort of portfolio, a cool clip to have to pitch yourself around for other things, whether it's guest blogging or writing a book. My book, when I pitched it, being able to tell them that part of my platform was going on local radio shows like almost every single day of the week and going on national radio, that was a huge piece of my platform that helped me land my book deal. So lots of cool things you can do with radio. Maria, Patricia, thank you so much for being on here. And Patricia, thank you for responding to people for me. I appreciate it. I got to figure out, I got to have like my laptop here so I can like type while I'm doing Facebook Live, I guess. But thank you guys for being here. I hope you have an awesome Monday. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will get to them. Have a great day, guys.